One of the most important song forms in jazz is the 12-bar blues. And this is because jazz really came out of the blues. It was really birthed from it, and that's why you hear so much blues language in jazz throughout the different eras and throughout the history of the music. And the great thing about the blues is that it really contains all of the most important harmonic elements of most jazz standards. So if you know the blues forwards and backwards and really are versed in it, you're really going to be able to improvise well over many other jazz standards. So it's important that we spend some time on this song form. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about how I take the blues through all 12 keys. I'm going to take it through all 12 keys so you can hear it, and we're just going to dig deeper into this stuff. Let's do this thing.
Welcome to the LJS podcast, where you get weekly jazz tips, interviews, stories, and advice for becoming a better jazz musician. And now your host. He's a jazz musician, author, and entrepreneur, Brent Vaartstra.
All right, what's up, everybody? Brent here from LearnJazzStandards.com, which is a blog, a podcast, and videos all geared towards helping you become a better jazz musician. Thank you so much for being here. Whether this is your first time ever listening to the show or you're a regular listener, and I know there are many of you out there who listen to the show every single week, so I want to thank you so much. I appreciate you. You are the reason I do this show, so thanks for being here. And as always, I am going to be giving you some value. I'm going to be helping you with your jazz playing, whether it be in a big way today, whether it be in a small way today. I'm just here to help. And today, like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking about the blues, because the blues is an important song form in jazz that we all need to be very familiar with. So much so that me and the team at LJS here have recently started our brand new jazz blues course that we're going to be releasing later on in the year, and it's really going to be a practice course that's going to help you take the blues through all 12 keys. We're going to be diving in with etudes, diving in with practice exercises, and just a real program. And I'm just excited about that because, yes, I do believe the blues has so much to teach us about harmony. And if we do understand the blues, if we can improvise over the blues, it's really going to set us up for a lot of success in a lot of our other efforts in jazz music. So this is probably going to be something very good, especially for those who maybe have just been dipping their toes into the jazz world and just really feel like they need to get a hold of some of this basic stuff. And the blues is a great place to do that. So that's what's going to be going on in today's episode. Is I'm going to be showing you how I take the blues into all 12 keys, telling you why I take it into all 12 keys, first of all, because I think that's important to note. So we're about to dive into that. I'm also going to take the blues into all 12 keys on this show and improvise over it. So you'll be able to listen to that as well. So without further ado, let's jump right into this today. Let's jump into the blues in all 12 keys. By the way, this transition music is actually just a blues, by the way. So just a little fun fact today. But hey, listen, the blues, a lot of us know a little bit about the blues, right? I mean, a lot of us probably know how to play a blues, or maybe they've played a rock blues or some form or fashion of the blues. Maybe you know some jazz blues heads. You know a little bit about it. But I almost guarantee that most of you are really only comfortable playing the blues in one or two keys. And some of those common keys, depending on if you play rock or jazz, would be G, E if you're a rocker, C is one that beboppers use a lot. B flat is a common blues key. F is a common blues key. So maybe you know a blues in one of those, and maybe even you're a little bit comfortable improvising in one of those keys. However, I believe that you should be able to play the blues in all 12 keys, not only because, of course, there are blueses in many different keys, and even some that you may not expect, like D flat, like concert D flat, but also, like I said before, there's a lot of harmony in the blues, like 2-5-1 chord progressions and movements to the 4 chord. There's even some diminished gospel-y stuff in there that are just important to jazz harmony. So if you know how to improvise over the blues in any key, well, any key of a jazz standard that you find in is going to be a lot easier because you're going to recognize some of that harmony. You're going to have learned some language over top of that. So what I'm going to be challenging you to do today, and I'm going to be doing for myself, is to take the blues into all 12 keys. But let's first start with a baseline for what the chord changes for what I would consider to be a jazz blues. And of course, jazzers will add many different chord chord changes to the blues. These are what I consider to be the basics. So I'm just going to do, for sake of example here, the key of concert C. So it starts with a 1 chord for 1 bar, then to the 4 chord, which is F7, back to the 1 chord for 2 bars, and the 4 chord for 1 bar, and the sharp 4 diminished for 1 bar, and back to the 1, and the 6, usually a dominant 7, then a 2, 5, 1, and then usually a turnaround at the end, like a 1, 6, 2, 5, right? So it sounds, we'll just play it through. Right? So that is a blues in concert C. So pretty simple there. You should really know that form forwards and backwards. And then we want to start to be able to improvise over it. So how do we improvise over it? Well, that's a whole other episode. And I actually already sort of touched a bit on this a little bit late last year on episode 146. So it was 146, 3 strategies for improvising over a jazz blues. So if you want to check out that episode after this one, I would encourage you to do that. That kind of gets the ball rolling a little bit, kind of viewing improvisation a bit from more of a theoretical sense, but that might help you get started. But ultimately, I really do believe that learning how to improvise just comes from exposure and experience, learning language by ear, all that good stuff. So taking the blues in all 12 keys is an important thing to do, and I really want to challenge you this week to take the blues into multiple different keys. So you might ask, well, how do I take the blues through all 12 keys? There's really a million different ways you can do it, and I don't really think there's a right or a wrong way. The way that I always talk about doing this, and many of you who follow me will know exactly what I'm going to say right now, which is I take things through different keys through the circle of fourths. And the reason I do the circle of fourths, or not even the circle of fourths, just cycling in fourths. And the reason I do that is because it creates some variety instead of just, going chromatically up a half step, and it kind of creates a little bit of randomness to it, but at the same time, there's a little bit of method to the madness, because if you really think about it, a lot of jazz harmony cycles in fourths, like 2-5-1 chord progression cycle in fourths, all this stuff. So that's why I use the circle of fourths. So the circle of fourths would be C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, G, C again, right? So you just go around the circle. That's just kind of the way I like to take things through all 12 keys, and I personally find it beneficial. But of course, you can do the circle of fifths. You can just take out flashcards and do random ones. So either way, this is something that I think is a great thing to do. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a clip from a video that I did a while back on our YouTube channel, and also leave this in the show notes today as well. If you want to check that video out. It's very similar to some of the things I'm saying today, but I did go ahead and I improvised over the blues in all 12 keys. So, this is, man, it's a lot easier said than done. It's really challenging to play some of these keys, but I went ahead and I did it. And I enjoy doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and play through all 12 keys. I'll name out the keys as I go through them so you can keep context to where I'm at. But here it is. Here's me playing the blues in all 12 keys. All right, this is concert C. All right, on to concert F. All right, to B flat. concert A flat. And to D flat. Concert G flat. And concert B. On to concert E. All right, concert A. All right, concert D. All right, last one, concert G. All right, cool, right? That's it. That's the blues in all 12 keys. I went through the blues in all 12 keys. That was a lot of keys. And you probably heard that, yeah, some of those keys I sound a little stronger in than others. And that's an okay thing. Doing this sort of thing is such great practice. I almost can't emphasize it enough. And by simply just doing this, you are really opening up your playing even in just on your instrument. You know, for me personally, I'm a guitar player, right? It doesn't matter what instrument you play. I just play the guitar. But having to really think in different positions and, you know, it really does make a big difference. And I know it will for you too. So today's episode we're not going to go on forever on this today. I wanted to keep it simple and short because I want you to take a little bit of action. What I want you to do is you can take the challenge of doing all 12 keys, but what I really want you to do is I want you to try the blues out in 3 keys that you don't normally play it in. Okay, 3 keys you don't normally play it in. And why don't you go ahead and play a head to a tune that you know really well? So whatever blues head that you know, go ahead and take that into all 12, or rather into those 3 keys as well. Okay, so that's my challenge for you. And also here's something I kind of want to hear from you a little bit, if you don't mind. I am creating this blues course, this jazz blues practice program, and I kind of want to know for you, like, what sort of things would help you if you were to have a course like this? What would be helpful for you to have to help you start working on the blues? Is it specific practice stuff that you want to have, etudes, solos? What for you would be helpful? And what you can do is just simply go to the show notes today at learnjazzstandards.com/episode 173. Just leave me a comment there and let me know. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, you can leave a comment there as well, wherever you'd like. I just love to hear from you. Like, what kind of things help you learn better? What things do you think would really help unlock the blues for you better? I just would love to know those things, so feel free to leave those. Hope you take me up on my challenge. Take 3 keys of the blues that you don't normally play this week. You're going to grow a lot from that. Really excited for you, and I hope you have a great time in the practice room this week. All right, that's all for today's show. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you take action on today's episode. Man, I'm always pleased to do this podcast for you guys. It's really a highlight of my week when I get to record podcasts. I just have a lot of fun doing it. I hope you enjoy doing it too. And so if you want to keep in up to date really with everything that's going on with the podcast, of course, just subscribe on wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Spotify. And by the way, Spotify is really becoming a podcasting platform that people are talking about. They've been making some big moves in the podcasting space, which is kind of a lot of fun for podcasters to see someone finally do something innovative and trying to push the boundaries of podcasting a little bit. Anyways, that's a total sidetrack point there. But I just want you to be subscribed to the show, so make sure you subscribe. And hey, if you want to help the show out, you know what I'm about to say, please leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and let other people know why you like this show, how this show has helped you out. I'm trying to get to 300 rating and reviews on Apple Podcasts, which I know we can do because we're not that far off from that. So feel free, if you haven't done that before, if you always thought, Brent's saying to do this, but man, I'm just too lazy to go leave a rating and review. Well, just, do it this time. Go ahead and just leave a rating and review. It really helps the show out. So thank you so much for doing that in advance. And of course, as always, share this episode with someone if you think that this is going to be helpful for them. And I'm looking forward to seeing you back next week on the Learn Jazz Standards podcast. Cheers and happy practicing.
Thanks for listening to the LJS podcast, brought to you by LearnJazzStandards.com. Subscribe to the series on iTunes, and don't forget to join our jazz community at LearnJazzStandards.com/newsletter.